So welcome to this first video in our Tambour work series. I'm quite excited about this one because there's two of us now. So I'd like to introduce you to Caroline Homfray. Welcome to my YouTube channel.
Thank you for inviting me.
Caroline is going to take us through Tambour work, but I know you quite well, but for everybody watching, just tell us a little bit about your embroidery background.
So I worked as a designer maker for 10 years. And I made work for the National Trust and for the V&A Enterprises. And I learned Tambour probably about 5 years ago. I taught myself initially, and I had some lessons from Leslie and Diana at Couture Beading. And I like experimenting with different threads, looking at the history of the medium and seeing what I can do with it, also in my work as an artist.
Okay, so if we want to see a little bit of your work, we can see it where?
You can see it on my Facebook page, so Caroline Homfray Embroidery on Facebook.
Okay, and we'll put a little link to that in the description below the video. You can go and check out Caroline's work. Okay, so question number one then, what is Tambour work?
Well, essentially it's a chain stitch embroidery made with a hook, like this one here. There's my hook. And we have some examples that you'll commonly see of Indian Tambour work. So here's a scarf, densely worked in a metal thread, lines of sequins. You've got some little bunches of sequins in the middle. You can see the backwards and forwards stitching, and also this wiggly stitch here, which is vermicelli stitch, very characteristic of Tambour embroidery. So lots of continuous lines. And we have another example behind her, this beautiful scarf in metal threads, and we have lots of radiating lines just worked in the chain stitch backwards and forwards, but also beaded lines in here worked next to each other, and some trailing lines, and it gives this very dense and rich effect, sparkly, and it's a beautiful piece of work, that one.
Okay, so these are quite traditional techniques where you might see this work. So show us some of your work and something a little bit more contemporary.
So here we have an example in white, and this is to show the decorative side, the chain stitch as the decorative side, and we've got beads added in, but the main feature is actually just the lines of stitching. So a very simple style of tambouring.
It's very beautiful.
This sample here, we can see a braid effect in sequins and beads there. This is all worked with the beads and sequins strung onto the working thread. So the chain stitch actually is on the other side.
Oh,
this is the side you would see while you're working. You can see there the blue, white and yellow threads, the chain stitch, which matches the size of the bead. And the decorative side, then the beading is on the other side.
Okay.
So we've got bugle beads, sequins overlapped, and vermicelli with little spot beads in there.
And just a quick word about the fabric that we've got here. So this is quite see-through fabric, as this is as well. Is that a normal fabric that you'd use for Tambour work?
Well, you can tambour on any fabric, even leather, that you can get the hook through, and it's sharp. But this is an excellent material to learn on because you can see what both your hands are doing. It's silk organza, it's very strong, it doesn't hole easily. And also it creates an interesting floating effect with these dense designs on a see-through fabric.
And this is what you're going to show us on later, isn't it, this fabric?
Yes.
Okay.
Here we have a design which I worked from both sides.
Okay.
So there we've got the braid effect that we've just seen in the blue and the gold and the white, with sequins interspaced with pearls, but we also have lines of chain stitching for their decorative effect. So I worked it from both sides. You can also see the chain stitch on the back here.
Oh yes.
There. And I've used the tambour stitch to sew on these sequins like shisha mirrors, stepping around the circle, staggering it slightly as I go round, and then building up, holding on the sequin like a shisha mirror. Okay,
so you can do quite a lot of different things with this technique, then, can't you?
You can.
Okay, lovely. Right, this one looks a little bit different.
So, yet another example here of satin stitched there using a machine embroidery thread, this rosebud design, and then using a woolen machine embroidery thread here to attach these square mirrors and this shaped mirror.
So you can use quite a few different threads as well, different types of threads
threads
as well.
designed for machine are good because
Okay.
they're consistent and strong, and they're
Okay.
on a reel, continuous.
I love these leaves. These are beautiful, aren't they? Quite different
Thank
from all
you.
the sparkle and the...
Yes, this is a much subtler effect, so you can get subtle effects.
Right.
It doesn't have to be bling.
Oh. Okay. Right,
And
so another
talking-
subtle one.
Talking of subtle effects,
This is very beautiful, isn't it? This is stunning. So this is like a shadow work type technique.
yes, so layers of silk organza here, there's a layer for the whole dove, and then a few extra pieces in there to create that
Yeah.
highlight, secured with the tambour stitching around the edge. So the ultimate is simplicity using your tambour
Really
hook.
beautiful. I'm just going to hold that one up actually, just against that blue background. Hopefully you can see the different layers in that. Really beautiful, lovely.
And another experimental piece here. This one was inspired by frost patterns on a glass window. So this tambouring here in a metal thread designed for a sewing machine. Lots of wide stitches and changing the size of them to create this very frosty, sparkly
Yeah,
effect.
that looks really frosty, doesn't it? That's wonderful.
So you're only really limited by your imagination. Think how you could use the stitch.
And have you painted this background in? I noticed
Yes.
it's a different colour from the...
Yes, this is using fabric paints on silk
Okay.
organza with a little bit of a silver paint on there as
Okay.
well to increase the frosty effect.
Wonderful. Right, this is my favourite one, I think. This
So-
is beautiful. Absolutely beautiful.
This was inspired by my love of Indian embroidery, and this is my tribute to the Mughal embroiderers. So inspired there by the colours, densely building up the chain stitching and having this vermicelli in a metal thread. We've got the pearls on there, we've got crystals, overlap sequins, satin stitch, and a really rich effect.
Really beautiful. I'm just going to tilt that back and forth a little bit so hopefully you can see the sequins and the beads sparkling there. It's beautiful.
The ultimate bling.
It is the ultimate bling. It's wonderful. Really lovely.
Thank you.
Okay, so thank you for showing us your work.
It's a pleasure.
Thank you. Don't forget to check out Caroline's Facebook page if you want to take a class with her. You can see where she might be teaching on there. And join us in the next lesson, and Caroline's going to show us about all the materials that we need to work this beautiful technique.